Thank you all for joining us for our SICSS-Howard Mathematica Roundtable entitled SICSS-Howard Mathematica 2022 Funded Alumni Research in Progress. We have 8 projects to present to you today. You will get a chance to talk to people on the following projects: Agrarian Transformation and Search for Social Justice in Ethiopia, Getamesay. Good Mothering, guided by the parenting experts on YouTube, analyzing the expert ideas of the mother's role in the risk in society, Rumeysanur. The effect of paid family leave on the health of immigrant parents and children of immigrants in the United States, Nayantara, Renee, and Susana, and Bing-Jie. When do people see and sanction systemic injustice? A computational experimental approach to social problems with grace. Then weighing the options, examining school choice reactions to test score and discipline disparities among Black parents, Janeria, Todd, and Jeremy. Syntactic variation in African-American English, Kimberley. Global crowns, emotions surrounding hair, natural hair of Black women around the globe, Nicole and Yash. And Part C, early intervention referral and the eligibility determination for children with diagnosed medical conditions, Asha. We're going to drop an article in the chat box for you all about all of these amazing people's research, and hope they will inspire you to apply for research funds this year as well. I'm proud to introduce Renee, one of SICSS-Howard Mathematica staff members and one of our esteemed moderators for the summer, who will kick off our panel.
Thanks so much. My name is Renee. I'm a rising third-year Ph.D. student at UC Berkeley. Yes, and a SICSS HM staff member this summer session. So we'll start by having each of the teams give 5-minute introductions of their projects. And then I have 1 or 2 questions to get us started, but really I hope that participants ask all the questions. So please start thinking of them as presenters are talking about their projects. And yeah, let's get started with the first introduction.
Okay, thank you all. And to introduce myself, I am Getamesay Nigussie, and a Ph.D. student in environmental science from Addis Ababa University, Ethiopia. And my project is titled Agrarian Transformation and Search for Social Justice in Ethiopia. And as to the background, due to the change from agrarian transformation, we mean that it is a promotion of a capitalist development, industrialization, and modernization. However, it has been perceived by others that it is affecting the rural people, so that there is always a question arise regarding to land rights, labor rights, as well as gender rights. So especially in Ethiopia, we are considering agrarian transformation coupled with modernization of the agriculture, but always there is a question of rural livelihood concerning their food security. So my research is focused on that. So with that as a methodological approach, I am interested to see to use a normative theory, discourse, or feminist theory. When I say normative theory, I'm interested to see how this farming community, government, private sector, civil society operates each other in dealing with transforming the agriculture. And also with regard to the discourse theory, I'm interested to see how the idea of participation, empowerment, and ownership with regard to gender rights, land rights, and ownership is practiced. So I'm interested to see and deep down in what's the discourse behind the participation of farmers in this agrarian transformation or commercialization of agriculture, as well as how did they empowered in transformation of the agriculture system, and also they are the owner of their land and the resource. I'm also interested to seek that. Also with the feminist theory, I'm interested to see the power relation between actors concerning women, how women are entertained in this system. So why is the project is important? I assume that this project will provide alternative food security strategies and institutions that endorse labor justice. There is a question of laborers who work in the farm, commercial farms. So also I will also entertain is that another alternative food security strategy that the country can go through rather than focusing on the big commercial farms. Also, this project will inform the agrarian organization and also their movements that promote their interest, as well as will give option to policymakers about food security, labor justice, and land and gender rights through grounding knowledge and practice. So as to my hypothesis, I'm thinking that this agricultural transformation of using land-scale commercial farming in the country has brought significant consequence on land, labor, gender rights, and food security. So I'm interested to collect ethnographic data and also seeing the places, individual experience of actor will be entertained through in-depth interview, and also case studies will be examined. So in addition, comparative method will be used to compare the effectiveness of different approach in addressing social justice between the lowland and highland part of the country. So my next step will be preparing checklist for data collection and also data collection for primary and secondary data, as well as so I also think that this research will entertain is that possible to address food security in the smallholder agriculture. So I'm planning to go with this, and this is my introduction at all. Thank you.
So I'm Rumeysanur. I'm a Ph.D. candidate in sociology. The importance for me, SICSS-Howard fund is that this is my first personal project. So from writing the abstract to putting the budget table, they are all an all experience for me. My ideas have transformed since my application because I have to, I'm from Turkey and I live in Istanbul. I have to make them more feasible and doable. My original idea, which was very interesting and exciting for me, was measuring how parenting experts, social media posts, and attachments affect mothers' risk consciousness on being good mothers. Because as being a mother, I was affected so much. I'm still affected, to be honest. But the problem in my question was that this sounded me later on that it sounded me such much more a psychological project than a sociological project. So my idea to turn it to a more sociological project was that measuring how first-time mothering and socioeconomic status. So I tried to change this word of anxiety to a more sociological language. So I transformed my idea to how first-time mothering and socioeconomic status affect mothers' use of social media and their tendency to take parenting experts' ideas, like their advices. So the funds from SICSS-Howard Mathematica, it helped me to deploy my survey to Prolific, which was also a good experience for me because this is the first time I'm deploying a survey to an online platform. This fund helped me a lot. And my initial results are good. I'm working on them. And actually, I ran for two methods. The first one was survey, which I taught, and the other one is text analysis. So in my text analysis, I will measure how parenting experts, like these parenting experts, whether they use words related to risk So I will do a text analysis. I had a problem with Google API and then I solved it recently. So I will do a structural topic modeling to understand whether their choice of words are related with risk. My next steps will be focusing on text analysis and getting results from Prolific and working on them. My problem, like one of my challenges is that, as you know, there are a lot of social media platforms, and I'm trying to understand what kind of mothers. When I say what kind of mothers, I mean their number of children, their ages of children, their socioeconomic status, how they affect their use of social media platforms. And when I say platforms, I mean like more than 15. So there are a lot of social media platforms and people use them in different combinations. So my challenge is that how I will like code them and then how I make combinations with them to measure it. What changed in my life since I applied for this project is I'm still a PhD candidate. I'm still working on my PhD. I still have this finishing PhD anxiety. What I really learned from SICSS in my life, which will affect all my life, is that Nanette had some sort of a manifesto that I call as a manifesto. She has never like said so, but I will rephrase her words. She was saying that our project and our thesis, it's yours and yours own. And then she was saying something like, you don't have to have a single white male, as I'm being a female, a mom, and although white in color, but living in a developing country where you cannot access the data, like a proper data. I always have her words in my mind. I also learned to be merciful to myself. I also learned to be grateful to what I do for my PhD during the day, not to judge myself. And I also learned from one of these beautiful talks during my summer school last year. One of the professors, he was saying that after applying, like sending your article to one of the journals and working on it for 3 years, and then when you see the decline message, your family and friends, they are your support team. So like although this academic ambition, it just forces us to like leave our family and friend relations and then just to focus on our work. This is not the case. I always remember his words. So as you see, I see academic things and emotional things which are very, very important for my life from SICSS, and I hope you learn much more than me.
Hey, so I'm going to be talking about our project, which is the effect of paid family leave policies on immigrant mothers and children, immigrant parents and children in the United States. So how did we come about having this this kind of a topic? So at the point of the institute last year, I was visiting my nephew in Canada, and I was, my sister-in-law at the time had 18 months of paid family leave, paid maternity leave. And I was shocked when I was looking at the US policies and there was no federal paid leave. So, we all got to talking, and Susana has a lot of expertise in looking at immigrant populations, and she finds that, the work flexibility for immigrants is particularly challenging. And Renee has her expertise in maternal and child care, and Bing-Jie at the time was PhD candidate in health policy and is now a postdoc at Yale. So we all got together and we decided that, hey, like this is going to be an interesting topic for all of us to work on. And this was where we kind of met at the institute, and as well. So towards the end of the institute, you're going to have like a research speed dating, which was a lot of fun. So we went into little like groups and we were like talking about things, and that's why we all, kind of decided on this topic. And as immigrant researchers, we really are very grateful to SICSS-Howard Mathematica for giving us a chance to build these relationships with other immigrant researchers who are doing such important work. And the process of putting our proposal together, was kind of really nice, just because we all had very similar research agendas and we had very similar ways of working. So Susana, as our PI, kind of led us in this venture, and she delegated the literature review work to all of us, and she worked on the introduction and as well as how we could pitch this topic. Whereas myself and Bing-Jie, we worked on the econometric modeling, since we had more training in that. And with the funding that we've received, we will be accessing data from the National Health in NHIS. I forget exactly what it stands for at this point of time, but so we will be using the restricted data to understand which state of resident the immigrant parents are from, as well as their country of origin. And finally, where are we now in our career versus where we were? Well, Renee is now a PhD candidate at UC Berkeley. Bing-Jie has now graduated from her PhD and is now a doctor. Both Susana and I are in the same place as we were, but are hoping to make some changes soon. Susana, do you have anything to add, or Renee?
No, that well, Nayantara doesn't want to.
Yeah, sorry, I am not able to have my camera on, but I think you covered everything, Nayantara. Thank you so much. And yeah, I just wanted to say too that, you know, definitely it has been a joy working with everyone in this project. And definitely, like, throughout the time, take the time to, you know, see where you connect with other people and you know, to be able to, I think for us, when we did, I really enjoyed the part where we did that like speed dating part. And I think with that, we were able to figure out, oh, I think this person will be good, you know, for the project. So I really appreciated that part. So I would say take advantage of that as well. But it has been really good connecting, even besides this project, just connecting on a personal level with them. So I would say, you know, definitely it's lifelong relationships too. So keep that in mind.
I wanted to add that, well, Nayantara was actually, I feel like the one that saw the parts that linked us together into a project. She saw what our skills were and our interests, and then brought us together into the project. And so shout out to her. And I also want to emphasize what Renee said, that at least for the, how many, 4, and then Asha actually is also part of the project, tangentially, but like we have become like friends, and we have sometimes, you know, reunions or like over Zoom, and you know, we just chat and not like work related, and it has been really helpful, especially for us. All of us are immigrants, and so it has been refreshing to have people who understand where you are in academia, or the struggles that you're going through in life. And so I will also, you know, encourage you to build those relationships among your cohort.
Year PhD candidate in psychology, and I kind of have a bit of a different trajectory in that I worked alone on this project, and I came to SICSS with the idea already in mind. It was something that I hoped would turn into my dissertation, which now explores how people think about the source of injustice. So because I came in with an idea already, the process of putting together the proposal was a little bit different, in that I had to really think practically about what I wanted to get out of it and how I thought that SICSS would help me get my dissertation off its feet. And I also wanted to find a way to take what I learned in SICSS and kind of bring in some mixed methods into my dissertation. So in thinking about what the funding actually helped me do, it helped me collect a lot of pilot data, which again is now serving as the basis for my dissertation. In terms of how SICSS influenced the project and me, I came in as a 4th year, you know, with an idea in mind. And now I'm actually putting the idea together. I'm actually starting my dissertation, which is amazing. So the project helped me get to the final stage of my grad school career and really get my dissertation off its feet. And I will say that in part, I wish I had been a little bit more collaborative. So if, you know, as you get ready to do this research project with other people, I encourage you to challenge yourself and get outside your comfort zone. I think I kind of kept myself, you know, working by myself. And I think that's something I wish I had changed about SICSS.
Hi, everyone. My name is Todd. I am a fourth year PhD student in education policy at the University of Virginia. And I did SICSS in 2021. That was after my first year as a PhD student. And like others have mentioned, the matchmaking, sort of speed dating was really fun and really interesting, I think, both in terms of hearing from people, and then Janeria and Jeremy and we kind of like hit it off and had been like circling around related ideas. Janeria does work on segregation and Jeremy does work on police in schools, and I've been interested in discipline. And where we landed was trying to understand Black parents' responses to disparities in discipline and in test scores within schools. There's been a good amount of research looking at parents, mostly white parents in these samples, and how they are less likely to consider schools that have a larger share of Black and brown students. And
we're having some technical difficulties. We're just going to wait and see if we can get Todd back. In the meantime, you can look at Grace. Grace is what I see. Grace on my screen right now. I don't know if she's pinned for everyone else, but Grace is going to be one of our instructors for next week. So you get to spend some time with her. She's fabulous. Todd is also one of our instructors. You can spend some time with him. Todd's back. Let's get Todd back on.
Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. When I am an instructor, I will make sure my Wi-Fi is better. But we connected around Black parents' school preferences and understanding whether discipline disparities and test score disparities discourage them from considering certain schools. So 2 ways that SICSS really helped us. One is providing funding for us to do a large survey. We got a sample of 1,200 Black parents, and we did a survey experiment where we basically showed them school profiles, and we varied whether there were gaps in suspensions, and then separately whether there were gaps in test scores, and then both and neither. So it was kind of a 2x2 factorial design. The SICSS funding, like we wouldn't have been able to do that without them. Another way that SICSS really helped us was we were sort of each coming from an area where we have a little expertise, but we were able to reach out to Dr. Chantal Haley, who's at UT Austin, and she's a sociologist who got her PhD at NYU, but did her undergrad at Harvard. Sorry, not Harvard, Howard. Did her undergrad at Howard. And we reached out to her because she had done survey experiments with parents in New York City, and we really admired her work. And in the email subject, we were like, hi, we are like temporarily Howard affiliated, like Howard-based program people are reaching out, and she responded immediately. So I would second, like, the networking and the people that you meet here in your cohort can be great resources, and you can be a resource to them as well. So definitely make connections, definitely utilize your TAs, utilize the people who are here, utilize like Howard connections. And she provided some really awesome feedback. And I actually got to meet her at a conference, and it was just like, oh, you're part of Howard. Like, of course I want to help you. So definitely lean into that. And I think we've all learned a lot. Like, I hadn't done a survey, I would say, well before. So I took a lot of time to focus on this survey, and I've learned a ton from Jeremy and Janeria, and I really enjoy working with them and feeling like we get to like continue this the SICSS relationships that were kindled during the summer.
Oh, my name is Kimberley Baxter. I am a 5th year rising 6th year PhD candidate at NYU, and I am studying linguistics. So as far as this project, how this project came to be, hey, you see, no, but like as far as how this project came to be, similarly to Grace, this is my dissertation project. So I already came in here with this idea. However, when I was doing SICSS in 2021, I believe, I actually did do a group project with Maxine Van Doren, who is also a SICSS alumni. And so I kind of have a bit of a background on both ends of those, but today I'm going to be focusing on the project that I got paid for this time. So that was actually my dissertation project, Syntactic Variation in African American English. So with that in mind, I'm going to tell you what, and then I'm going to tell you why, okay? So as I'm sure most people in here know, African American English is a sociolect spoken mostly by Black and African American people in the United States. It has a unique verbal system which allows verbs to be used as aspect markers. So when you think about tense, you think about when something happens, present, past, future. If you think about aspect, you think about how something happens. So the best example of this is the famous habitual be. He be running, we be chilling, we be eating. This does not mean that these things are happening right now. It just means that they happen habitually. This is different from he is running. But what makes it different from mainstream American English, otherwise known as standard American English, is that like standard American English or mainstream American English does not allow you to use verbs to do these things. And this becomes a problem when we enter into an age where we're using more and more language, language technology, language tracking technology, artificial intelligence, wherein, as I was talking about with Maxine from a couple of years ago, it is not built for African American English. It is built for mainstream American English, wherein the grammatical structure is very different, which means that the meanings of certain things that you get from out of this language are going to be very different. But specifically with this particular project, I'm going to be talking about language variation. And so basically what that is like, think, for example, if you're from the Midwest, maybe for fizzy, sugary drink, you say pop. If you are from the South, maybe you say Coke. If you are from New York, like me, maybe you say soda, because yup, I also say soda. I am a soda girly. So like that's lexical variation, but I'm going to be looking at syntactic variation, which looks like variation in the grammar. So for example, things like, I done did that already. I didn't grow up using that, but I went to school at North Carolina A&T State University, Aggie Pride, and so, all right, so we got some Oakland people in here. I grew up on Long Island, so I'm from New York. And so I didn't grow up saying I done did anything. So in this sentence, done is being used as a perfect marker. And when you call it a perfect marker, think have. I have done this. He has done this. They have done this. You're using it, you're swapping it out with have. And again, done is a verb. But not everybody uses this. So my question is, where does this happen? Where doesn't this happen? Because I didn't have this. And the previous research out here was saying that in the urban centers, it's all the same. So how it works in New York is how it works in Mississippi, is how it works in Alabama, is how it works in California. And the data that I ran for my project so far for the perfect marker done shows a big hotspot in the Southeast and cool spots virtually everywhere else. And so right there, you can see differences in how the language is used. Ain't for didn't, same thing. Ain't see, ain't say, as in didn't see or didn't say. Everybody seems to use that unless you come from Southern California. I should have asked this beforehand because I noticed a big cool spot where people did not really use ain't see and ain't say like that. So it does seem to show that there is variation. And I feel like this is one of the building blocks of being able to say, all right, well, this is how the language works. So when you plug something into the AI, because the AI is only as good, it's like a cake, it's only as good as the ingredients that you put into it. But if the ingredients are telling you wrong things about the language that you're trying to analyze, then it's going to give you a wrong result. So this is one of the building blocks of being able to have a better result for how language is used and everything, especially as these things are beginning to be used for things like job applications and other things like that, where it might read something and interpret something in a way that is very different from how it was meant. So that's my research, that's me, that's why I'm here. And also I'm going to be using this money for like, equipment, these huge data sets, how to be able to pay for programs that will be able to move these huge data sets, some of which are upwards of 2 gigabytes each. So yeah, but yeah, that's my spiel. That's me done. And I will hold you to it because you will see me again. Don't listen, I'll move in. Don't tell me. All right. That's it. That's me time.
Am I unmuted? Hello, everyone. I am Nicole Jenkins. I'm currently an assistant professor at Howard University. I was in SICSS. I see a lot of my SICSS colleagues here from 2021. And like Kimberly and like Grace, my topic stemmed from my dissertation research. So I have been interested in natural hairstyles and the experiences of Black women wearing natural hairstyles and textures since I did my dissertation. I'm an ethnographer. I did a 2-year ethnography in an African braiding and weaving salon for my dissertation, which I'm now working on a book project for. But when I started with SICSS, I wanted to continue this research in a different way. And use some of the skills that other people have and that I was learning in the program. So I brought the idea to the table. There were a few people interested in studying natural hair experiences of Black women around the world. But I ended up teaming up with Yash, who is a Ph.D. candidate at UNC Charlotte in computer science and also has a sociology background as well. So we paired really well together. Our project is looking to collect narratives. That's the ethnographer in me, the qualitative researcher. So we currently have a survey going around. Part of the issue, I put it in the chat. So part of the issue is trying to collect data on a global scale. Like all of us realize that that's very challenging. We have had a good amount of participation from Black women here in the US, but we're still trying to get some of the experiences for folks around the globe. I think that natural hair discrimination is gaining a lot of traction here in the US with the Crown Act. But like anti-Blackness, natural hair discrimination is a global phenomenon. And this is really what we're trying to focus on so that we can understand how natural hair discrimination looks in different parts of the world and what those experiences are for folks. Just to answer some of the questions. So I talked about my project and how me and Yash decided to work together. In terms of putting together the proposal, I don't want to say it was easy, but I will say that I've been doing this research for a really long time. I mentioned it was part of my dissertation research. So it was just a matter of figuring out how to make a proposal that fit the SICSS project and purpose, right, with the team that I had. In terms of where I was, so in 2021, I was an adjunct professor. I am a COVID grad, so I got my PhD in 2020 during COVID. Yay, no commencement. So I was adjuncting for Howard, teaching a lot of classes, as we know adjuncts do. And then I actually applied on a 10-year track position while in SICSS and found out that summer that I was offered the position. So now I am a 3rd-year assistant professor at Howard. Things are going really great. In terms of this project, we presented this research in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia, just a couple weeks ago at the International Sociological Association. And at that presentation, a professor from Sorbonne University in Paris, France, approached me and has asked me to come present the research there. So I really am trying to make my way around and learn about the experiences of other folks around the world. And I'll be going to Berkeley in September. So I think I'll see a few of you. I'll be presenting this project at Berkeley as well. So I just say SICSS is really great. I think if you're thinking about this as like, oh, I'm just going to do a project while I'm in the fellowship program, you're wrong. It's going to continue. You know, these relationships are going to last. And think about a project that you can really see yourself immersed in for a good amount of time. Yash and I are working on our first publication from the preliminary data. And just last plug, I put the survey in the chat, so please circulate it. And if you're a Black woman, take it. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. So as you know, my name is Asha Yadav. I'm a PhD candidate currently at the University of Oregon, and I'm studying PhD in special education. And in terms of my research, I'm looking at Part C, early intervention, eligibility and referral process for children with developmental delay. Basically, you know, Part C is a federal system that provides early intervention services to children who are with or at risk of developmental delay from birth to 3 years of age. So it's a nationwide program. So I'm looking at how specifically children with medical conditions, those who have high probability of developmental delay, how they are diagnosed and referred from pediatricians to Part C early intervention system.
All right. I think that was our last presentation that we have here today. So we have about 10-ish minutes for questions. So does anybody want to get us started with questions? Okay. So we have a question. Bing-Jie, sorry if I pronounced it wrong.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I do have 2 questions regarding the upcoming projects. So my question is that I would be happy if the presenters can tell us by taking their experience how to get a fund from Howard. It may be in terms of a thematic area and as a related issue as a recommendation, and what type of projects in terms of scope is suitable with the fund that is offered by Howard. Thank you so much.
I'm happy to jump in on part of this. So you all will receive a call for proposals, if not today, then tomorrow. And it will give you background information on all the different parts of the application. We want to give you lots of time to think about it and a sense of what these projects tend to look like at this stage. So these folks are about a year out, except folks like Nicole, who's gotten funding twice. So once you are a graduate of our program, once you have you know, attended and been here for everything and officially graduated, every year you're allowed to apply for funding for us. Mathematica has been very generous. All we're looking for is the execution of the methods that you learn here in that research. So as long as it touches on computational social science, either in the forms that we presented or more broader, and then you are eligible for funding. And it's not a complicated application process. I encourage you to talk to our speakers about their investment in preparing their applications and such. But you'll have the details of that from us very soon. So it's a simple Google form, and then the request for proposals, we'll get that to you soon. We've got some more questions. I'm going to remove my spotlight. Let's make sure we spotlight our people asking questions.
Yeah, Beth, do you want to go ahead and ask a question?
Thanks. For the panelists, I'm curious if there is, of your methods that you used in this work, if there's one that you're most excited or proud of that you'd be interested in talking through, whether it was one that you learned at the Institute or just something that you've learned that you've been really excited to use and try out.
I have one. So for me, there are 2 things. One of them is no longer accessible, which is the academic Twitter API. Twitter has been a dumpster fire of nonsense for the past year or so, but I am still very proud to have gotten what I could get while I was on my way out of that burning house. However, the other thing that I really like is
R, actually. I got a lot more confident with using R, the programming language, after I did SICSS. And I have been able to use R not only to collect Twitter data, and TikTok is also coming out with the research API, by the way, just for those of you who want to use social media. Yes. So, you know, make sure that you look at that as well. They just came out with this like a week or two ago. But anyhow, it will allow you to be able to collect data from APIs such as the TikTok API that is just coming out. But also it allows me to create maps of my data. It allows me to create box plots and charts, scatter plots, all kinds of other things. And I was very nervous about using it before I came here. And then now I feel really, really confident in it. And it really is a bedrock of a lot of my research. So that's my thing.
I would second R. I definitely feel more confident with it. And web scraping is another one that we covered that I've been able to use in my research. I do other research around early childhood education, and there's a lot of childcare licensing inspection reports that are just PDFs. And, you know, prior to SICSS, I would have just said, oh, there's no data there. Like, there's no way I could access that. That's not useful in any way. But then since SICSS, I've been able to access that data and use it in my research. Using R.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for your responses. So we're just in the final stages of question taking. So maybe James, you want to go ahead and ask your question to any of our speakers?
Thank you very much. My question is directed to Nicole. I'm curious about what the computational methodologies were with her study of the natural hair of Black women around the globe. I'm really curious about that. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks so much for your question. So the main crux of the project are a survey. However, I didn't get to this part when I was talking about the project, but we aim to create a database that is going to hold these narratives of Black women. So we ask 3 questions. We ask them to share a story about their natural hair experience, and then share a positive, share a negative. So a general story, a positive, a negative. And we're really using the sociology of emotions as a theoretical framework. But the computational aspect is this database, right, that holds all of these narratives and these responses to these questions so that folks can come in and use that data to, you know, tell different stories or just demonstrate what natural hair experiences are looking like around the globe. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Problem.
Okay, Gia, why don't you go ahead and read out your question?
Sure. So I just want to ask the panel, how do you keep advancing your R skills after SICSS? And then is there any a mentor from SICSS can continue to help out for carbon shooting?
I think I can jump in. My name is Prim. I'm working with Todd and Janeria on the Black Parent project that we've been working on. And then specifically thinking about how you can advance your R skills. I think the one thing about R is that it's really going to be you kind of taking some of the initiative and finding other resources to kind of really dive in, practice sets, and also just some other projects. The one thing that really got me into using R and also just computational studies and just in general is that I've always found that I have research questions that I could not necessarily answer with just secondary data sets. I literally needed to go and find the data, whether that be web scraping, whether that be machine learning. It was something that I really needed to go and do on my own. And so that's one helpful one helpful aspect. In addition to that, I know Todd and a couple other people that were in my cohort still have mentor-mentee type relationship with people from Mathematica, which has been really, really cool to be able to continue to work with them and to, help them grow their skills. I know Todd really wanted to dive into Python, and there was someone from Mathematica that was very helpful into this is how you can use it into early childhood education. So this little tidbit, I guess, long story short, is that it's something that, if you want that help, and there are resources, and my email, I'll put my email in the chat. I love to troubleshoot, because troubleshooting really helps you grow those skills as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Thank you. Joel, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Hi, thanks for the presentation. So I guess I'm starting to think about the project that's, like coming up, and I'm curious how y'all all kind of figured out the tension between something that's very practical and easy to do in your projects versus something that is like, you're trying to like reach for the sky type of thing. Yeah, I'm just curious how y'all manage that.
Well, I can take a stab at this one. My advisor is always telling me that I'm always trying to do too much. I feel like my advisor is the balance there, because I will come in and I'll be like, I want to do all the things. I'm going to do the nationwide thing. I'm going to do all the different parts of speech. And she goes, you're going to write 10 dissertations. So what you're going to do is you're going to do a few of these and you are going to write your dissertation and then do this. And then you can do the other things. And those can be subsequent papers. I think shooting for the stars is a great thing. I think if you have this really big all-encompassing thing, then I would say go for it. Chances are, if it's too big for you to do in a single project, which mine often are, then you can like break it down into smaller projects. The methodology as you're doing it will reveal this to you, and you will be able to kind of chip pieces off and then kind of, make those into whatever emerald set, thing that you would like to do. And then you have a resource for future projects and future projects and future projects. And that way you don't end up overloading yourself. So it's not that the idea would be bad. It might be just too big to eat in one bite, having no idea what it is that you're actually doing.
All right, and Nina, you have a question? Go ahead.
Thanks. I have 3 questions, but they're probably short. The first question, for anyone who can clarify just what the issue with using a Twitter API is. To give some context, I have been toying with the idea of using a Jamaican government-run site, Twitter page account thingy, platform, whatever, the thing. Using a site, using one of those accounts to scrape some data, but it would all be centered on, local experiences. So I was wondering if the issue with Twitter is a US issue or a technical issue, or so, like, is there anything to be concerned about while conceiving the question? That's the first. My second question, please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name, Getamesay Nigussie. So I would love to, I'm very fascinated by your project. Would love to know if you have had any relationships or interactions with the local government, and if so, have they performed as any kind of assistance or hindrance in you, either in just the move of protecting agrarian societies, or just in general. And my final question, I'm sorry, I forgot the presenter, but the one on sanctioning systemic injustice online. I would love to know more about the computational model that you used to approach the project, and why you selected that one, how that one was useful in particular. So that's me. Thank you.
Well, let me jump in real quick and tell you why Twitter is a dumpster fire right now. So when Elon Musk took over, well, first of all, this is a Twitter local thing. So using an API that the government has, like, so for example, I was also using the US Census has, I think, Tidy Census on R, and I was able to get the demographic data from them. and it works like a charm, fits like a glove. It is lovely. I am grateful to it. But it is the Twitter API itself that is having issues right now. When Twitter was taken over by Elon Musk, there was a huge layoff of a lot of the people that were operating in supportive capacities for the company. And most recently, and I want to say this is literally within the past 14 to 30 days or so, there used to be an academic tier that you could get up to 10 million tweets per month for free. That API was shut down. So even if you had a developer license, that's the license that I was using, you can't use that anymore. There's a new pricing tier for the Twitter API. I think the most similar one is the enterprise tier, where you can get 1 million tweets per month, but it costs $5,000 a month, which is ridiculous. And I think like right now, using that as a basis for research becomes more and more difficult. If you need a whole great big bunch of data, you can still use the free tier. And I don't remember how many requests you can do for the free tier. It was much less though. And I think there might be like smaller ones where you could get like 10,000 tweets a month or something like that. I was thinking about doing something for Jamaican Patois, for Jamaican Patois syntax, and using Twitter as a database for that as well. I don't know about the numbers that I would get for the thing that I would be looking for. If what you're looking for is going to result in less than 10,000 tweets, then perhaps this is a way to still be able to use the Twitter API and apply for the license and everything like that. But it's way overpriced right now. The way I feel about it, it's kind of, and that's why I mean, it's a kind of a dumpster fire a little bit. But there are other social media APIs that you can use that I did use with SICSS, one of them being the Reddit API. I don't know how useful that's going to be outside of the US. Some tiers of the Twitter API might be okay. The Facebook API is tough to get into. If you are able to mine data from Facebook, please tell me how, because they keep it very much locked shut. If the Twitter API comes out with any alternative academic thing, I will try to keep the net informed. But yeah, that's why I say it's problematic. Oh, and TikTok is coming out too. So I would say search for alternatives and alternative data sources. But if you can squeeze something out of the husk that is Twitter, then by all means. But that's why I say what I say.
So just want to follow up. So your third question, Nina, Grace is the appropriate person to answer that, and she will be with us next week. She's one of our instructors. Todd has also left the room. You'll want to follow up with Todd about Twitter. So we're doing some stuff with some tweets that he collected on our Vice President, Kamala Harris. So you'll want to talk to him about that. Also, Kimberly, are you Jamaican? Did you say yes?
Yeah.
Oh, the largest contingent of participants this year from Jamaica. I'm just going to say it's because of you. I'll just say, because you're Black gravity. You're Jamaican gravity. All the people are coming to you. So
no, because I came on, I was like, let me not jump out the window with the Walton Star. Like, I was just like, all right, no, let me just be cool. But I see you the second you opened your mouth. I was like, oh, hey, how you doing? Long time in the city, you know. But like, and that was it. But I'm very excited.
All right, folks, it's time for us to wrap up. I'm going to hand this back to Esne, who's going to close us off.
Yeah, thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you to our funded alumni for sharing their awesome projects and their experience. Thank you to participants for your presence and your questions. And again, thank you to our SICSS-Howard Mathematica site faculty sponsors, Dr. Terry Adams, Dr. Nicole Jenkins, and Dr. Rebecca Hsu.
Thank you all for watching. For more information on SICSS-Howard Mathematica, visit our website, follow us on social media, and join our email list.